Welcome back. It's still watching In the Game. If you just joined us, I am Onyinyechi. We just wrapped up our top 5 stories, so you can catch up. Get to follow like our social media platforms like News Central TV. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hashtag In the Game. Join the conversation. You may want to join the conversation right now because we're going deep into the world of football, and Nigeria football takes center stage. Of course, today is a D-Day. We're hoping the die is cast. The Super Eagles, with their rich history and passionate fan base, and they stand as a symbol of Nigerian football in prowess, of course. However, recent years have seen a mixed bag of performance, leaving fans yearning for consistency and success on the international stage. It is against this backdrop that the new coach, of which we await the NFF to announce, must navigate a pathway balancing tradition and innovation and expectation with reality. Of course, we have some 7-point agenda, which we'll feel that the coach should look into, of course, to have a good campaign with the national team. One, we have seen how to get the best out of the Eagles' attack, to phase out or keep older players, or even scout for new ones, to revamp playing style formation, integrate the Nigerian Premier Football League stars into the national team, improve team mentality, greater team bonding, of course, that we would see vis-a-vis. Also win 4th African title and dominate the continent. Also reach the World Cup semi-final if Morocco can do it. Of course, 3-time African champions can also do it. These are the 7-point agenda from News Central TV, the sport department we are looking at for the new sheriff who will take the helms when the NFF, of course, announces their preferred candidate. Official deliberations, consultations should currently be ongoing right now in Abuja to decide the new Super Eagles coach. To this, there is a need to set an agenda that will instill a winning mentality within the squad. And joining us in this conversation is former media officer of the Super Eagles of Nigeria and ESPN contributor, Colin Udoh. Thank you so much, Mr. Colin, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. These are the times when we want to lay the cards on the table and have an understanding of what the task ahead for the new coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Now, the Nigerian Football Federation have deliberation ongoing for their final choice of the Super Eagles coach. I would love to know here, Mr. Colin, what should be expected from the eventual appointee?
Win football matches, that's all. I've just seen your 7 points agenda, and while I don't think it's particularly bad, I think that the main responsibility of the national coach is to win football matches for the senior national team. That's as simple as it goes. When you start to delve into the other stuff, those are the responsibilities of the federation. And I say that because right now we seem to arrogate a lot of duties and responsibilities to the national coach that should not be his responsibility. If we're talking about creating a pipeline for players to come through into the national team, then you have the technical department of the NFF and the technical director of the NFF who should make policy, the sort of policy that determines how players are coached from a grassroots level all the way up to senior international level, what kind of process provides a pipeline for those players to make their way up from playing amateur football to grassroots football to professional football and being in a position where you can select them for the national team. So when it comes to a national team coach, my brief is always simple. Just win football matches for the senior national team.
I really do concur with you there, because I know that the currency for a good managerial campaign is winning trophies. But Mr. Colin, the Super Eagles have always gotten away with unpredictable approach, which oftentimes makes them difficult to play. And this has become a broken record, I think, which hasn't yielded much change in the coming years. But in the previous years, I beg your pardon. But with this, the dawn, of course, for a new coach, what fresh perspective to the team's approach, revitalization of style of play, do we expect to ignite in a new era of success? This, we'll be talking to the new coach.
That's it's a tough one really because in fairness, it takes a coach a bit of time to get in, settle in, and get the team to play differently from the way that they've previously played. And in the past, you could get away with that sort of because they had time. Now, a coach is about to be appointed, and his first game in charge, the first time he gets to meet the team is when they begin to prepare for a definitely crucial World Cup qualifier against South Africa. So there's no time to start revamping style or changing style. It's a question of coming in and seeing what the team is doing or what they've done previously over the last year, and then try to integrate whatever strategies that he has within that system, because you don't just come in and then try and change their style or their formation overnight ahead of one game.
But does the Super Eagles have a particular style of play? I beg your pardon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does the Super Eagles have a particular style of play that they are known for?
I wouldn't say so, not at this moment. Now, if you look going back to the past, all the way back to the 1980s with the Odegbamis, Amir Samakas, Mudas, and so on, okay, Shima, Nigeria has always been an attack-heavy team. We like to play, and I think you probably have heard some of the old school coaches talk about wing play and going forward. Yes, we used to have a lot of good wingers going out to the wide right, and then coming back into the middle. Now, in recent years, we haven't had quite as much great wingers as we used to have in the past. What we now have are wide forwards who are not quite the take it wide, cut out, and then across the ball. I think the last great wingers we had were Finidi and Emmanuel Amunike. Since then, what we've mostly had have been wide forwards. So what Pesero did when he came in was discover that up front we're top heavy with great strikers. Our biggest problem had always been wayward defending. So he came and built a foundation from the defense going forward. Now that sort of took something away from the attack. So while we didn't concede so many goals, we weren't scoring that many either. And you could see that it cost us in the AFCON final where we lost to Cote d'Ivoire. So now the question is, if a new coach comes in, how does he find that balance between solid defending and going forward and taking advantage of the talent we've got up front?
Okay. In our 7-point agenda, we have one that says the winning a 4th title on the continent. Colin, in your opinion, can he navigate that intricate dynamics of African and international competition, guiding the Super Eagles to new heights on the African scene?
Look, we definitely have the talent to do so, and a good coach also can do it. I mean, Pesero is not the greatest coach, and he's not the greatest coach in the world, but he came in and within under 2 years got the Super Eagles to the final of AFCON. So yeah, certainly, and they had a great chance of winning it if he'd been a bit more adventurous in his tactics. So you've got to say yes, the Super Eagles have got the talent to win that 4th African title. The question is, what is the drawback? And there's just so much to unpack when you get to that question, because for a team that can get to the final, can win a 4th African title, and we really do need to win that 4th African title.
Winning the 4th African title, I'm very sure, would be one of those targets that will be given to the new coach, because moving to the final of the recent African Cup of Nations has really triggered that winning mentality and the taste for a 4th title. Let's move our attention to player selection right now. A lot have always not been so, satisfied with the selection of players for the senior men's national team. There are a number of players, Colin, you would agree with me, that have passed their time in the team. I would like to ask the straight question: how should this be approached? Should he ease out aging players to keep them, or even keep them for experience sake? How important is he for the new coach to address these pressing issues within the team? Player selection has been brought to the fore.
Well, look, that's not such a straightforward black and white answer to navigate. I always hesitate to say players have aged out of a team because it depends on what you want out of a particular player. Yes, there might be some players who get to a certain age and you think, okay, they're not giving as much as they're able to give, but even those players can offer you, a clutch 10, 15 minutes in the game. So I guess for me, the best way to look at that would be what player gives a coach the best possible chance to win, whether it's on or off the pitch. And I'll use an example. Ahmed Musa, for instance, is considered to be one of the older players in the team. But at the AFCON, while he did not play a game, my understanding is that he brought the kind of leadership that kept the team, together. And a lot of time you need that kind of leadership to be able to navigate the waters in such a tournament. Or look at William Troost-Ekong, for instance. There was a point where there was a lot of criticism of him and how maybe he's too old to play and, needs to leave and so on. And yet we got to the AFCON and Troost-Ekong was, I think for me, the most outstanding player for the Super Eagles at that tournament. So again, I come to the point where I say, I think the decision depends on who the coach feels is the best fit to give him the best possible chance of winning football matches and football tournaments.
So in your opinion right now, you want him to keep these players for experience sake?
I wouldn't say keep the players. I'd rather say that if the new coach comes in, he should come in, look at the squad he has, look at their form in their clubs, and look at which one gives him the best possible chance to win the football game. If you have a player who is maybe has a lot of experience, but can give you good leadership off the pitch, or can give you a clutch 15, 20 minutes in the game, and then or can use his experience to shut down the game when you need the game to shut down, or control the tempo of the game, then you're in a good position to say, okay, I need this player, even though he's maybe a little bit, older.
Well, the place that player will be taken, not playing and also just being in the team for experience sake, that chance would have been given to a younger player to come make a difference in the team, just for continuity.
I agree. I agree with you totally. There are some times where you think, okay, this older player is here, and the younger player, might come in and do better. But here's the thing, right? A younger player does not have the experience of an older player, and the younger players tend to make mistakes. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
And I'm going to use Ahmed Musa also. Ahmed Musa's first game, I think, or first couple of games was after 2010 World Cup. It was a World Cup qualifier away to Guinea, and I think that was a game that, if I remember correctly, the first leg of that qualifier for the 2011 or 2015 AFCON that we eventually missed out on going because Guinea came and got a draw in Abuja. Now, Ahmed Musa was one of the best young players in Nigeria at the time, and his speed was frightening. We were in Guinea, we were losing that game by 1-0, and Ahmed Musa came on late in the game, I think for the last 15 or 20 minutes or so. And Ahmed Musa had a chance to get Nigeria on the score sheet. He raced through the entire Guinea defense, got in the box, and they tried to bring him down. Now, an experienced player under attack would have gone down, and that would have been a clear penalty. But because he was such a young player with no experience at the time, Ahmed Musa just kept going. In the end, he lost the ball, and we missed the chance to get that penalty. So you have to, again, like I said, navigate, find that balance between what a young player brings in terms of youth and energy and the fervence, and what an older player brings in terms of experience, knowing what to do in certain situations in the game, and how that gives you the best possible chance at winning a football match.
Okay, I'm very sure that the tax ahead is very huge for whoever will be the preferred choice by the Nigerian Football Federation. Still talking about player selection, a lot have always clamored for the inclusion of players from the Nigeria Premier Football League. And this we have to bring to this conversation right now, because it's been one tax that would love the new coach to, just take into that his to-do list. How can he impact that team contribution in the overall development and growth of football in Nigeria? Because that's one very important thing. Both at the MPFL, the grassroots level, what should he do to secure the place of these MPFL players in the Super Eagles squad going forward?
Again, that's a very nuanced conversation. I don't know if we want to have the time to dive into all of it, but here's what I'm going to say. Okay. We have a lot of talent in the Nigerian Premier Football League, and I think that any Super Eagles coach should take time and go around all the league venues, look at players, and be in a position to bring them in and integrate them into the Super Eagles. Now, there's also the other side of it, which is that historically, we've seen that when players have come from the NPFL and gone to the Super Eagles, they don't last long. I mean, they come in, they play 1 or 2 games, they go off to Europe, and then sometimes they go to these clubs, they have to take time to bed into these European clubs, and then they kind of fade away, and we don't see them anymore in the Super Eagles. And there's a lot of examples that we got. I think the latest one was Enyimba's Anayo, who, came, I think that was under... It was under North Pesero, Genaro.
Yeah.
He came on. He was a big star. We saw his potential, and played a couple of games. Went up to Tunisia, and then we haven't seen Anayo again. So I think that task, one, it behoves the coach to make sure he can get as many talented NPFL players into the team as possible, who can hold their own with the Europe-based professionals. But
Colin, should his contract, I beg your pardon, should his contract include a stay here in Nigeria to watch games in the Nigeria Premier Football League?
Look, we've always had that in the coaches' contracts, right? But not always, but at least in some of the coaches' contracts. But what the problem has always been most of the time is providing that atmosphere for him to do so.
Okay.
And accommodation, vehicle, all the things that a coach needs to stay around here and work. And then there's also the question of, no matter how much you ask the coach to stay here, the bulk of the players in the Super Eagles play in Europe. We can't get around that. Even if you're going to invite 5 players from the NPFL every game, you're still going to invite the bulk of the other ones from Europe. So the question is, the coach will still have to go to Europe to watch his players, monitor and see what they are doing.
So what will his scouting team be doing when he does that?
Well, look, the scouting team scouts, the coach assesses. So if, for instance, a coach is going to watch, say, Victor Osimhen, for instance, that's not the job of a scout. A scout is only probably going to go in the stadium as a spectator watching the game. Now, the coach would want to go there, be treated like a national team coach, meet the club officials, talk to them, engage with them, and engage with the players. A scout does not have that same authority as a national team coach to engage with the club officials. So, to be honest, my preference would be for a Nigeria-based coach and a local coach for that matter. When I talk about local, I'm talking about likes of Amunike, Finidi, who are essentially Nigerian coaches rather than a foreign coach, because again, apart from the issue of where he stays or not, we also have to come back to the issue of the time that we have to prosecute these World Cup qualifiers.
Okay, let's look inwardly right now, administratively to be precise. What steps can be taken to ensure continuity and consistency in the team? Now, this is regardless of coaching changes or external pressure.
That's a broad conversation again, and it speaks to what I said about the technical department and the technical director. Now, the technical department, led by the technical director, have the responsibility of fashioning out what the playing philosophy, the coaching philosophy, and our overall football philosophy should be in the country. That's supposed to be the engine room of our football philosophy in Nigeria. Now, I'm happy that we have someone like Ogu-Obaroh there, who not only was a phenomenal player with Nigeria, but also has coached the Super Eagles. But we also need to have a think tank within that department, led by Ogu-Obaroh, that fashions out a clear policy for what direction Nigerian football is going to go to over the next few years. And what we need in that case is not just what to do now or what the Super Eagles needs to do, but a clear 5-year development plan, 10-year development plan, 20-year development plan. We need that because that's the only way that makes all of this conversation that we're having here about the Super Eagles coach almost, moot. Because when you have a clear path for how you identify talent, source talent, train talent, and develop talent from a grassroots level all the way up to professional level, then you're creating a great pipeline for having well-trained, well-coached players that make it to the national team eventually. I mean, and I'll use the USA as an example. I also do some refereeing. You have kids who are into getting a formal football education from as young as 6 years old, and they are getting coached by professional coaches who have specific youth-focused coaching licenses, where at some point they are only coaching them on techniques. They don't coach them on tactics until they get to maybe under 15 under 15 level. So we need that pipeline where we have a clear direction as to how we start identifying, training, and developing talents all the way up to the senior level.
We can only project this, on the table, play these cards on the table, but it's left for the Nigerian Football Federation to pick up this and then act on them. Now let's look again at that 7-point agenda. Please do look with me on that. Let's see which is achievable and which is not. Looking at the 7-point agenda, Colin, which do you think is easily achievable and which do you think is a long-term plan that would need a lot of deliberations to achieve?
Okay, so let me start with, I'm going to skip a few because we've dealt with
them.
Let's start with number one, how to get the best out of the Super Eagles attack. I totally agree with that. Now, we have a good foundation for defense, in defense at least, based on what the team has done so far. Now we need to find out how do we have players who are some of the best attackers, Osimhen, Boniface, Orban, Awoniyi, and so on. How do we get the ball to them as quickly as possible so that they can find and create the best chances for them to score? We're creating chances, but just not scoring goals. So yes, that's one. I agree. Second one, I think I'm not quite so sure about what it was now because the graphic has disappeared. To phase out the keep with up, we dealt with that. From the playing style, it's going to take a while, so we dealt with that. Integration of MPFL stars, improved team mentality and greater team, but I think that's already happened because we see how the team is now. There's a great mentality. It's not like in the past where we were fighting each other. We've been in situations where we had a very divided team. We don't have that anymore. Now we have a team pulling in the same direction. So I think that issue is well taken care of. To win a fourth African title. And I think the last one was the one that I think I wanted to kind of like jump into a little bit, which is to reach the World Cup semi-final. Now, that is a goal that's attainable. I think that if we get a lot of our planning in place, we figure out the things that need to be done, and we work, get a proper playing style, proper formation done, then maybe we do have the talent to get to at least the World Cup. I'm not sure about semi-final, but yes, with the current set of players, but I think that the quarterfinal at least is an attainable goal, but it's something that has to be planned for. It's something that has to be worked out. We have to find the best possible coach, and then we have to give them the best possible ways to win football matches. But most importantly, we have to qualify for the World Cup first.
All right, we can only speak, but it is left for the preferred candidates of the Nigerian Football Federation to navigate these concerns, these observations, these requests that have been placed just ahead of his new role as the coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. It's been an interesting conversation with you. I'm hoping that we'll have more time to have this conversation more even after the announcement of the new coach of the Super Eagles. We've been speaking to the former Super Eagles media officer and an ESPN contributor, Colin Udoh. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today and sharing your wealth of knowledge.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.